Oh, shit. Here we go. Day 16, part 2. Carrie Reed is the witness being called to the stand. I don't think this woman is a fan of Karen Reed. But this jury instruction that the judge gave to the jurors is interesting. So let's go over that real quick. So as they take their break and they come back, here's what the judge says to them. And you notice there was a sidebar right after this witness left the stand. And the defense is pissed off that the jury heard about all the harassment they're getting. So they went over to the sideline and they cried, "This is prejudice of my client. This is appealable. We want you to instruct the jury that my client had nothing to do with these riots or harassment. Otherwise, they're misjudging my client and will appeal." So this is the jury instruction that they agreed to, and now she's going to tell the jury.
Jurors, I waited until the last witness left the stand and until you all had your morning break to give you one other instruction. And this one, all the instructions are important, but this one's important, so I want you to focus on it. Now, you heard from the last witness, and you may hear from other witnesses who described what Ms. McCabe called harassment and public demonstration. I believe she referred to a rolling rally. I permitted that testimony for a very limited purpose. That testimony was not offered, nor may you consider it as evidence that Ms. Reed has bad character or propensity to commit crime. In fact, there's no evidence before you that the defendant is responsible for that conduct that was described by Ms. McCabe. The evidence is relevant only insofar as it goes to the witnesses, or to explain the witness's state of mind, so Ms. McCabe's state of mind, and that is to the extent it explains Ms. McCabe's conduct or statements or actions at any particular time. And ultimately, the testimony may be used by you only as it goes to the witness's credibility. Okay? Thank you very much.
That's how you cover the appealable threats from the defense, that it was unfair and my client was unfairly prejudicial and it was hurting and it was me. Well, shut up, freaking crybabies. All right, here we go. This should be interesting because this is the witness that the other witness, this is the one that kept telling her to calm down and quit screaming and was yelling. And this is the one that can talk 24/7. And this is the one that was in the other room giving the interview in front of the other witness. So I don't think she is going to be what I would call friendly to Miss Karen Reed. However, prosecution is going to make her look like an angel at first, and then the defense is going to try to chew her up. Okay, so this witness is going to be emotional because she's already cracking up a little bit when she said the victim, John O'Keefe's name, when he asked her who she's going to meet. Listen to her voice. I'll put it on regular speed because I listened to it at 1.5. Listen to her voice.
Was going out. I think I passed him, and he was heading out to meet his friends. My son was not home.
And who were the friends that he was going out to meet?
John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano.
Okay, so if she's a little emotional just saying his name, I'm going to predict she's going to be crying during her testimony. And if she ain't crying during the prosecution questions, she's probably going to be crying or angry and fighting back with the defense.
It's a bar in Canton.
Sort of in the center of town, is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Keefe, how do you know?
I've known him since high school.
And where did you go to high school?
Braintree High School.
And how is it that you came to know Mr. O'Keefe? How would you describe your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe?
He was one of my closest friends.
Oh, so she was a close friend of the victim. This could hurt her or help her. So when somebody is very emotional or close to the victim, sometimes they will focus their anger that he's dead on the suspect. And sometimes the jury will infer that they can't believe this witness because they're too emotional about their dead friend. I don't know if they briefed her or who did her trial prep. She has to be very careful because if it looks like she's defending him and she is 100% convinced that this girl did it, her testimony won't have as much currency with the jury, so to speak. Okay, so far she's doing okay. She was friends with him. She helped out with the kids. Her husband and the dead guy, O'Keefe, was buddies. She said he dated a lot, and he would always have his girlfriends meet her husband. Like, what do you think about her? Her relationship with Karen was, she kind of played it kind of neutral. She took care of the kids a lot, and we coordinated a lot when we took them to sporting events. So far, nothing real eventful. Holy smokes. Didn't know this. When Karen first called her at 5 in the morning, before they went looking for him, she said he's dead and hung up. Holy smokes. Ouch.
5 a.m. and can you describe to the jury sort of what the content of that conversation was?
I answered the phone and she said, John's dead. Carrie, Carrie, Carrie. And then she hung up.
Ouch. Oh, I'm sorry. That was probably part of the conspiracy of everybody telling Karen to call her to set up the conspiracy. Yeah, that's it. Oh, so this is the first time the plow theory came in. Again, I listened to this at 1.5 times, so it's fast. If you want to slow it down, you can slow it down just like I'm speeding it up.
What is going on? Finally, she called me back again and she said, I'm afraid John might be dead. He might have gotten hit by a plow. He did not come home last night. I was not supposed to stay in Canton last night and he would never leave Kaylee alone. I think something happened.
And do you recall earlier in the day of the 28th having any communication with either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
I did with John. He texted me.
Do you recall generally what that was about?
My son got into a scuffle with some boy at school, and Patrick wasn't in school at the time. I think he went to a doctor's appointment, but Patrick got wind of it. So John was calling to see if my son was okay.
Now, turning back to, again, that morning on the 29th, you called Ms. Reed a couple times. She didn't answer. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at some point she called you back?
Correct.
And about how long was it after that initial phone call that you had where she hung up? How much time had elapsed between that call and the next one?
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes.
And so when she calls back, she makes those statements to you that you just testified about, and upon her making those statements, what, if anything, was your response?
Then she said she checked Kaylee's phone to see if John had called. And I said, okay, where are you now? And she said, I'm driving. Can I come to your house? Will you drive my car? I don't remember anything from last night. We drank so much, I don't remember anything. And I said, you need to go home and be with Kaylee if she's there by herself. I'll go look for him or something of that nature. Because I said, you're going to get a DUI. If you were drinking all night last night and you don't remember anything, you shouldn't be driving.
All right, so next question, please.
This house, how would you describe the visibility?
It was very poor. It was in the middle of a blizzard.
Now, when you get to the street, at some point you're directed by...
So far, she's kind of confirmed and corroborated most everything that's said. They showed the pictures, they showed where they showed up, where they left, where the front door is, all the stuff. I mean, I haven't heard anything from this witness that is like, oh wow, other than the statements that have already been said that she was screaming and yelling and erratic and said she got hit and said he was dead and said, could I have hit him? Same stuff. Otherwise, nothing real revelating about this testimony. And as I predicted, here comes the tears. When she sees the body, you can tell it brings up a lot of emotions about seeing her friend dead.
Where in relation to your vehicle, Mr. O'Keefe, where you found Mr. O'Keefe?
With the pointer?
Okay. Ms. Gilman, if you could, again, just wait for about this to happen.
Now, the defense doesn't like when witnesses cry because it tugs on the heartstrings of the jury. The blame, kind of like on the suspect sitting there, doesn't look good. Now, if Karen, the killer, the innocent woman that's been framed, if she was crying and upset when she saw this, it may help her, unless the jury thought she was faking it. Hard to tell. So my guess is she probably hasn't watched this video. It brings up memories of her friend, even though it's been 2 years. She's hung out with his kids, etc. And now to watch this in front of all these strangers when you're already stressed about testifying, to me it's reasonable that she's going to be upset.
on screen again here. If I could just use the way the point of direct your attention to those arms.
That is Jen McCabe. That's Karen Reed. That's me.
Just gonna keep playing it.
So you see two women, basically you see three women that found somebody dead, and you see one woman acting crazy, and you see other two women acting like they care and they lost somebody. We call that a clue. Now you add on that she was drunk and that she was making up that maybe a plow hit him and that she found the body and she was the last person to see him. And at first she said, could I hit him? And then she said, I did hit him. And you add up then the text that they had a fight and she was complaining that night about how she was tired of taking care of the kids and feeling used. Add all that up and then ignore it. And this is a big conspiracy and she's innocent. Really? Okay, so this witness is pretty emotional. She describes the body. She went in and saw him. She picked up the parents. She knows them. She's a pretty sympathetic witness. I would be surprised if the defense attacked her or as hard as her as they were on the previous McCabe girl, because she definitely feels the loss and is more emotionally involved in this. So, but here they talk about the phone capture, which I'll explain a little.
No.
At some point, either then or subsequent to then, was there any request made by any trooper from the state police in regard to your cell phone?
To my cell phone, yes.
And do you recall if it was that day or a later date?
It was not that day. I think it was the next day. It was within the next 2 days. They wanted to clone my phone.
And did they advise you of anything or give you any form that you had to fill out and execute prior to doing that?
Yes, I had to fill out a form.
And as far as your phone was concerned, were there any restrictions or anything that you gave to them as far as what they could look at or what they could clone or what they could do with your phone?
No.
And as far as how...
Okay, so when they asked to clone the phone, they wanted to just take a copy, basically just make a mirror copy of everything on the phone. And the prosecutor didn't make it clear to the jurors, which he should have, was, did you sign a voluntary consent? Because that's what she signed. She gave them consent to search and seize items on her phones. They didn't need a warrant. She didn't tell them no. And she had to voluntarily, in writing, consent. When you give consent to search to government, you're allowed to put restrictions. If government comes to my house and goes, hey, we want to search your house for a car, I can say, okay, you can search the garage and you can search the backyard. Other than that, go get a warrant. So they can go search the garage and they cannot search anywhere else. When you give consent, you're allowed to terminate that consent at any time. So, I mean, guys used to mess, if they were around for a while, say, yeah, you can search. As soon as you start searching, okay, man, I'm withdrawing my consent. You can't search. And we'd have to leave or go get a warrant. He didn't make that clear to the jury that both this girl and the McCabe before voluntarily signed. They had nothing to hide. Take whatever you want. Here's my phone. So for all the big conspiracy theories that all these things were deleted and that was changed and the phone was sold, and evidently this conspiracy is so good that they were able to isolate these two women's phones involved in the conspiracy, and they gave a full account of the phone. Shocking. So they don't show the defendant or the suspect or the murderer, or I'm sorry, the person that's being framed too often. However, when they do show her, she doesn't have a real good disposition. I mean, this girl is crying on a stand and describing the dead body, and she's kind of like, whatever. He was an asshole. I mean, she just doesn't have a good disposition. Whoa, what the hell just happened? The defense didn't ask any questions. Are you kidding me?
I have no further questions for this one, Mr. Honor.
Okay, Ms. Little?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Oh, thank you.
Wow. That is that's what you call a very calculated move. They discussed, what can we get out of this girl? If we attack her, are we going to look worse? I'm not sure what the process was to get to this decision. My guess is they didn't feel the risk of what they could lose was worth what they could get. They've been attacking everybody and trying to trip them up and point to all kind of crap. And they didn't ask one question of this girl. The defense did not cross-examine. That's very odd. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking back, I don't remember that happening too much. I mean, I might have a memory of one or two times, but this is very, very odd. Wow. I'm still not sure what this witness is here for, but she just testified that Karen picked up the tab on some vacation trip they went on. And I have no idea why this is being talked about.
Karen had paid the bill prior to us receiving it.
And what any reaction did you or anyone have in regard?
The entire table was kind of taken aback, said it wasn't necessary, wanted to Venmo or give cash or something along those lines, and she declined, saying that she was honored to be there and wanted to pay for it.
Turning your attention to the following day.
So this woman is friends with the dead guy, or was. Her husband committed suicide. John, the dead guy, found the guy who committed suicide. She was pregnant. The dead guy became the godfather of this child and was caring for it and very much a big part of his life. So I don't know if this is going to go to Karen was jealous of her. I have no idea where this is going, but so far I have no idea why this woman is testifying. And she's been talking for a while. Okay, so now I'm getting to why she's testifying. Her sister is upset, and now the judge is giving the jury, before she gives this testimony, she just testified, my sister was upset, and why was she upset? And now the judge is giving this jury instruction to the jury. I haven't heard it yet.
All right, thank you. So, jurors, you're about to hear testimony about certain conduct or behavior allegedly committed by Ms. Reed. Be mindful that the defendant is not charged with committing any crimes other than those charged within the indictments. The witness's testimony may not, and indeed must not, be considered by you as any evidence that the defendant has a bad character or as evidence that she has a propensity to commit the crimes with which she has been charged. You may not take the defendant's prior acts as a substitute for proof that the defendant committed the crimes charged here. But you may consider the act solely on the limited issue of the state of mind of the defendant and the nature of her relationship with John O'Keefe, as it might go to motive or intent. You may not consider this evidence for any other purpose. Specifically, you may not use it to conclude that if the defendant committed the act or acts, that she must also have committed the offenses with which she's charged. You can only use the evidence for the limited purpose of how it goes to the defendant's state of mind, the nature of her relationship with John O'Keefe, as it may go to motive. And just for the records, my findings are the same that I made at sidebar previously. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Thanks. Now, with regard...
So from that jury instruction, she's going to say something that Miss Reed did, said, or her behavior that was a little outrageous, and it's going to put her in bad light. My guess is it's going to show that she is violent and that her and O'Keefe fought and that she can be mean or out of control or drunk. That's my guess, but we'll see.
At some point, your sister comes out to the pool area where you were, is that right?
Correct.
And do you know where Mr. O'Keefe was at that point?
I do not know.
And when your sister comes out to the pool area, what happened?
She said...
Yeah, that's sustained. I thought you were doing something else.
When your sister comes out to the...
Oh, he already got an objection. Wow. What did he ask? I want to hear that again.
And when your sister comes out to the pool area, what happened?
She said...
Oh, he was ready. Did you see that face? He did not want her saying what her sister said. Basically, if you want to know what the sister said, subpoena her and bring her up. And I guess they couldn't do that, so the defense is like, we're not letting it in.
That's sustained. I thought you were doing something else.
When your sister comes out to the pool area, how would you describe her demeanor when she comes out?
No, I'll allow that.
She was frustrated.
And at some point, did you have a conversation, without regard to what the conversation was, at some point did you have a conversation with her about something that had just happened?
Yes.
Now, following that conversation with your sister, at some point subsequent to that, Mr. O'Keefe come back out to the pool area?
After I spoke with her, yes, he came out to the pool area.
And do you know about how long a period of time it was between the time that your sister came out to the pool area and Mr. O'Keefe came out to the pool area?
I mean, I would say approximately 20 minutes, but I don't really know exact timing.
Now, when Mr. O'Keefe came back out, did you have any conversation with him?
I did.
And can you describe that conversation?
All right, is this the instruction that you were talking about instead of the other one? All right, so jurors, I have another instruction for you. So you're about to hear evidence of statements made
Oh my God, here we go.
by John O'Keefe. Is that accurate now, Mr. Lally?
Yes.
All right. These statements are being admitted only for a limited purpose of establishing John O'Keefe's state of mind. You're not to consider this testimony as proof that the defendant has a bad character or propensity to commit crimes. The testimony of witnesses recounting conversations with Mr. O'Keefe can only be used as they go to the defendant's motive or intent on January 28th or 29th, and only if you find that the defendant was aware of Mr. O'Keefe's state of mind at the time of the crime and would be likely to respond to it. There need not be direct evidence that the defendant learned of Mr. O'Keefe's state of mind, so long as you reasonably can infer from the evidence that she did learn of it. Okay, Mr. Lally.
This is subject to our objection.
Yes, yep.
So, Ms. Sullivan, if I could take you back again. So Mr. O'Keefe comes out, you have a conversation with him. Can you describe to the jury what that conversation was about?
I turned around and I was pretty shocked to see him. I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Nothing." I said, "Did Etta and Karen have words?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, that's not what Etta said." And I asked him if everything was okay. And at that time, his phone was lighting up, and it looked like calls and texts, and it said Karen on his phone.
After you make that observation, what did you say to John?
I asked him if he needed to take it, and he said, "Yes, she's crazy. I got to take care of this."
And was that the last time that you saw him on New Year's Eve?
It is.
Now turn your attention to the following.
Oh, so this little innocent woman that was so great that's portrayed by the defense, O'Keefe's even saying she's crazy. Okay, so now the jealousy part comes out, and O'Keefe pretty much says that she accused him of making out with her sister. So this is why she's here, for character and behavior. Best predictor of future behavior is prior behavior.
Well, apparently, I made out with your sister the other night, according to Karen.
Now, is that the first time that you had heard that?
Yes.
So fair to say whatever you had heard from your sister on December 31st was not that.
Objection.
No, I'll allow that.
Oh, they don't want her to say what the sister told them. They are very quick on the draw to block that testimony. As a juror, you need to be aware when one side is trying to hide something, why are they trying to hide it?
Correct.
And what was your reaction when Mr. O'Keefe told you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I was shocked. I immediately found my sister and said, "Did you make out with John?"
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, when you went to talk to your sister, who was it that your sister was with when you went to talk to her about that?
I don't recall who was standing near her. Maybe my mom. I don't know.
As far as your sister was concerned, at that time, was she dating someone?
Yes,
And the person that she was dating, was that person on the trip as well?
he was. Yes,
And was that person that she was dating who was on the trip as well? Were they at the commanders on that day that you were?
they were. Yes.
Now, as far as you have some.
Okay, prosecution's finished. Basically, she kind of just set the stage that O'Keefe and this girl weren't on great terms. O'Keefe wasn't happy with her. This woman, she was crazy. He was staying with her because it is what it is. Crazy Karen accused O'Keefe of making out with his sister. The sister said it didn't happen. O'Keefe didn't really say it didn't happen, but Karen came back later and said, "Sorry, I thought I saw something I didn't. I'd like to pay for her room. I'm sorry." It sounds like more and more as I get to know this Karen girl, her attitude and behavior is very erratic, and she tends to want to pay for things to make up for her out of control behavior. We'll see if the defense gets a bite at her or not.
Thank you. I have nothing further for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Sullivan.
Good afternoon.
You were not present at the Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 28th of 2022 in Canton.
I was not.
You were not present at 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
Okay, so this is a technique to kind of discount everything this girl said by saying you're bringing in this person that wasn't there, that doesn't know anything, that didn't see anything, just to smear my poor innocent client. I've seen this. It isn't going to be a long interview, I doubt. He's just going to get her to agree that she don't know shit about the case.
Canton on January 29th of 2022.
It's not.
Yet you'll agree with me that Michael Proctor, the state police trooper, visited you at your home all the way in Pembroke, Massachusetts on February 8th of 2022
Yes.
to interview you?
Yes.
Nothing further.
So this says you weren't there, you don't know anything, but the state police got with you to get dirt on my client because of the big conspiracy. Games, bullshit, a non-issue in my book. Pretty uneventful. All right, this was the second part of day 16.